As I look upon my life, there's a passion inside. Heaven knows I'm living my dreams. As I look upon my life, there's a passion inside. Heaven knows I'm living my dream.
Morning, everybody. Good morning to you. Well, it's been a long time, but yeah, Talk with Joan Thursdays are back in action. I know last year it was just a little bit of an interruption, but Evangelic actually kept you busy, and I'm so happy for everybody who came on. And if you did not subscribe yet, please do so. If you subscribe, right? It will just be good for you to know what is happening on the Inside Show. And every day the Inside Show is pumping. Come, I tell you, it is the bomb. So you don't want to miss. You really don't want to miss. Well, when we start off the show, I want to just take the time to say, Happy 2022. I know this is going to be a year of fun. It's going to be a year, to me, a year of restoration, a year of God's favor. Whatever the enemy have stolen from you, God's going to give back 100-fold. And that is to you too. So never ever give up. I know you're not there yet. And listen, yet, right? Come on, you're going to get there. If you keep on moving and don't stagnate, right? Just keep the rhythm. You're going to see what God is able to do in your life. So yeah, you are on this Inside Show with Talk with Joan Thursdays. And on Talk with Joan Thursdays, you know what we do? The mirror. Because the mirror talks to us, right? When we're downcast, when we're overwhelmed, we don't want to look into the mirror, right? But now, girlfriend, boyfriend, I am urging you, let the mirror speak, because it's what you put in that you're going to get out. So what you put into the mirror is what you're going to get out of that mirror. But you know what? Sometimes you put into the mirror a sour face or a downcast heart. Now, talk to that girlfriend in that mirror and tell her, listen, you don't have what you have today, right? What you really want to have by the end of this year. But come on, don't give up. It is your time. It is your season. 2022 is a new year God has given to us. So the favor of the Lord is upon us. So without wasting any time, I want to pose the question to you and to my guest, who is going to introduce herself as I'm asking the question. So we're going to do everything in one, right? So she's going to introduce herself, and plus she's going to tell me today, because it's 2022, because it's a new year, right? What is your ambitions for this year?
Good morning, everybody. I am Kathleen Fonseca, and I am very blessed and happy to be here. So for 2022, it's definitely a new year, but for me, every day is a new year, because every day we need to work on ourselves. So I just want to be a better me. We have in our church the 7 spheres, that we need to work on. So in every sphere, I want to do better for this year, and it is a daily work that you have to do every day. You might default, you might take 1 step back, 2 steps back, but we are all work in progress, and I think it is about working on the small habits that we need to work on in order to become better versions of ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know what they say in English, but in Afrikaans sê hulle, is die klein vormpies wat die wingerd bederf. So you can interpret that for yourself. It's those little worms that is in the vineyard that actually ruins it, right? So come on now. My English is on top, girl. Well, you are on the Inside Show, and today we have a very, very, to me, it's close to my heart, right? We are talking education again because it's the beginning of the year, and I don't know how many people actually take this and say to themselves that, you know what, it's a new year, I must better myself, as Kathleen, actually, this is Dr. Kathleen, right? Guys, PhD doctor. Not any other doctorate, a PhD doctor. So I just want you to know that we are talking on the concerns and the challenges we have in our education system. And you know, it is so sad to see when we walk in around in our communities and we see so many children on the streets and we see so many of our youngsters who don't actually know where they're heading to in life, what their destinies are. It really brings what do they say? A thingikie in my throat, man. So it makes me emotional to think that, wow, what is the destiny for this person, this little child, you know, walking around in the street and supposed to be in school. And therefore, I find that we have to talk about these things, you know, so that we can get to the understanding and the wisdom that God has locked up within us, how to navigate through these things and how to educate ourselves. And therefore, we found it fit to have our Dr. Kathleen Fonseca on this because she was a teacher and she's a maths
lecturer at the university.
At the university. So guys, we don't just have anybody here, right? This is a woman who knows the system. So therefore, she's going to try her utmost best. And I know there's some questions that we maybe have that is a little bit, I don't know. But yeah, nevertheless, we're gonna dig into this thing, right? So let's go. I wonder, we spoke offset. We actually spoke about something that I thought was very informative, you know, by just, I know there was a thingikie and I was actually looking for it where Angie, the Minister of Education, is it? She actually said that when children drop out, there's so many children who drops out of school, you know, and she actually came back and she said, so she think that grade 9? Grade 9, people can drop out and at least get a certificate. And to me, it was really? Grade 9? Where are you going to go with that certificate? Grade 9, where are you going to get a job? What's going to happen? And Dr. Kathleen actually told me something that I didn't know about. And I want you just to dig into that for me on that certificate, grade 9 certificate.
Okay, so we need to understand the education system. We have different phases or bands. So we have, what we call the foundation phase, which would be grade R to grade 3. Then we have intermediate phase, which is grade 4 to 6, and then grade 7 to 9, which would be, some call it the inter-senior phase or the senior phase. That is called the senior phase. So also from grade R to grade 9, that is called the general education training band. So that is, basic education. So they do feel that from grade R to grade 9, you receive basic education.
And what do they mean by basic education?
So you're supposed to be numerate, literate, there's the other concepts, knowledge and skills that you've gained up until grade 9. So then after grade 9, we have the further education and training band, which is grade 10 to grade 12. So the policy around the grade 9, which would be an exit phase where they would get a certificate, but you have to pass grade 9.
Okay.
And it is to give, kids the option. So in policy, it's all good to give kids the option. So you could go to a vocational and a technical school, or you can continue with the academic stream where you complete your grade 12. So when you go to a vocational or technical school, you will also end up with an equivalent to a matric certificate. But you would, if you're more technical inclined, or if more vocational, where you have, you can work with your hands, you more technical skills. If you want to do, I think, hair salon, working in a hair salon.
Hotel industry falls under that?
There are courses that they offer at those technical and vocational schools where you would end up with a qualification equivalent to a matric. So it's not that kids should just be unemployed after grade 9, but it is to give the option for kids to go into that stream. So currently, whether there are technical and vocational schools, so there are a lot of challenges around that, similar to our mainstream education system.
Yeah.
So there is the issue about funding,
Yeah.
and the whole idea about these technical and vocational schools is a partnership with industry.
Yes.
With companies that is, if I'm just giving an example, like welding. I don't know if welding is still needed in South Africa, but if kids want to do welding, then there should be partnership with these industry where they can get hands-on. So the issue around funding is a major thing, with the reports that I've read in terms of our technical and vocational schools. There are a lot of challenges, for the effective running
Yeah.
of these.
Yeah.
Because also we have, like with our education system, you will have the fee-paying schools and non-paying schools. So kids who do not have, who's not in a means to pay, and they go to these schools. So there is equipment that's needed in this,
Absolutely,
in this
yes.
vocational
Yeah.
schools. So coming back to your point, so in principle, in policy, it is a good idea for kids to end the grade 9 year if they are technically inclined, provided that there are those facilities and those institutions that can give them the appropriate and proper training for them at the end of a 3-year or 4-year,
Sure.
that they have an equivalent to a matric certificate. They can then further go and study. So it's to give a different stream, that it's not just you have to go to university, but there should be that for kids as well.
I think that is very important for people to understand that, and even parents to actually know that. Listen, it's not all the children who goes to university and make the best of their lives. You find children who's
Yes.
more technically inclined, children who can work with their hands, and unfortunately, we don't find a lot in South Africa where there are institutions who actually, I don't know of institutions actually. There's one institution that I know, maybe not an institution, but a hairdresser, and that is, Caroline's. Caroline's actually train people.
Yeah.
I mean, she's in the industry for very long
time.
And how many women went through that, young girls who actually went through Caroline's a hairdresser, and how many hairdressers are there who came through the hands of Caroline? And I just want to actually also today, it wasn't really in my thing, but I'm thinking about it right now, that we want to say, we want to salute you, Caroline, and say well done, because through your hard work, you brought a lot of ladies through that hairdresser, trained them how to wash hair, trained them how to blow, trained them how to do. And so therefore, there are our businessmen out there, maybe, and you are listening, and maybe you can do something, because
Definitely.
it's like
That's what
we
we
said, we need that. We need to empower our children, give them some skill to work with, because sometimes they're not good in the
Academic
academic
stream,
side of
yeah.
it, but at least with their hands, they can work. You see what I'm saying? And therefore, if you're out there and you have a business and you actually know that there are children, even in our communities, please, guys, work with the community, try to get the children off the street, and let us just do something together. Right, so we're going to dig into this, and I want to ask, because we have so many challenges, right? We know that it's there, but this is one of the things that we can do. Number one is to actually help one another, give our children some skill, community engagements, right? And if we dig into the system, our education system, number one, I want to ask you, Dr. Kathy, there's a great concern re our education system due to the high unemployment rate in South Africa's youth. So does our system provide the necessary skills to our students? What would you say?
It comes back, to the different bands and the different streams that we're looking at. So I'm just saying, as well as I'm employed by the University of Johannesburg, these are all my own views, okay? So it's not the views of... So I would say that our education system do not adequately prepare, for the skills out there. And, I'm wondering if we're ever going to get to it, because it's like the goalposts are being shifted every time. So we have to really rethink education now again, and what do we mean by skills? We need to look at what are the skills, the needs analysis of what is needed, for the economy. So, like we talk about the new dispensation, or, the new education system that we have, it's almost 30 years. But now we find ourselves again now with the fourth industrial revolution, where we have to rethink again, what are the skills that's needed now again for the economy, because now there is something about, the digital world, there is robotics, there is coding. So the education system is ongoingly an ongoing process, trying to, look at the skills needed. So the question is, what are the skills that's required, and what jobs are kids looking for? In terms of that. So we have to rethink, of in the past, how kids could get a job. I'm talking now, from the community I come from, where you could go work in the bank with a matric or a grade 10, but it's changed. In the bank now, they have graduate programs now. So we have to look at... if we talk about skills, so again, if you want to go vocational, there should be that in place. Absolutely. If you want to go academic, then you'll have to go and study further in a graduate program, and there should be a graduate program. Companies should offer that. So because know what,
Dr. Kathy, you know what actually boggles my mind is the fact that those years we could leave grade 10, which was standard 8, right, and go to the teachers training college. That was just on the other side. A lot of people, a lot of students went for that, and they actually are good teachers up till today, and they did further their education while they were in training at the school, and there were inspectors at the schools who checked the teachers out and all that. All those things is no longer. So, and then it makes me wonder sometimes, how do you keep the teacher responsible? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Is there a type of responsibility from the teacher to the student, is there that dialogue? Do you know where each child is in the education system, and things like that? So it makes me think, I wonder, do we have those things in place? You know, do the teachers actually know the children they're teaching? You get what I'm saying?
Yes. With the teachers, so we have to look at, so also coming back to your point about how teachers used to be trained.
Yeah.
So that was all, infused into universities now. So because you would have teachers who had a diploma and you would have teachers who had a degree.
Right.
But now the requirement is just a degree program. So the teachers they had to upskill, so they had to get to an equivalent of a 4-year qualification.
Right.
Like you said, they did that in-service upskilling. So in terms of teachers, I am a teacher myself, so you have an idea of where each child is.
Okay.
Also we need to look at the teacher-pupil ratio now.
Absolutely.
So you have 1 to 40 in most schools,
Sure.
but then you have other township schools or even in rural areas. And we sometimes, because we live in an urban area, we just focus on, our issues
happening,
around here.
yeah.
And we're not aware of either the holistic education system of, the kids in the rural areas. You could have, I know, because we evaluate, I am in where we train teachers, so I go out and I evaluate,
Right.
the students in my care. And then I've been into classes where there's 60 kids
Oh.
in a classroom here in Johannesburg. The teacher, you cannot even
No way.
move between.
Lord have mercy.
Yes. So there is 60 kids in a class, and you have
With one teacher?
With one teacher. They have now where they have a program where they have teaching assistants, but it's all funding and all that. So there is a lot
Shoo.
of expected from a teacher to know about 60 kids in the class and to grab the attention of 60 kids. And we know that the attention span is limited, and so you have to make sure, for that 15 minutes that you can actually teach that learning is taking place. So there's a lot of challenges. There is the issue about, especially in South Africa.
So is it a lack of teachers, or what is it actually?
It is more to do with funding, because already the budget goes towards teacher salaries. So it is also about infrastructure in terms of, classrooms, but it is more about funding, because bulk of the budget for education goes to salaries. So that is where, like I said to you earlier, what we do not realize is that, or we do realize, but we don't, think about it in terms of education. South Africa is such an, unequal society. The inequality is so great, and it is very evident in our education system.
Oh, it's so true.
So you have the fee-paying schools where those schools can have 15 kids in a class with one teacher.
Sure.
Because there is funds to employ more teachers for that. And where we have the non-paying fee that is funded mainly by government.
Yeah.
And that is where that teacher-pupil ratio come into
Yeah,
place.
that's a sad thing, eh?
Yeah.
Now, talking about all that, we find that a lot of people, with the research that I've done now, many think that our universities are behind. So, therefore, my question, with our education system, with our learning programs and stuff like that, with our skills that we give to our students, can we compete globally?
I would say definitely yes.
Okay.
Because as universities, we have global rankings, which is determined, by the employability of our students, within 6 months, how employable they are. And our universities are doing quite well with that. So with the university, the global rankings, so they do look at your teaching and learning, how you rank in that, your research. So I would say our students they can compete on a global level. So there's just so much, that any institution can teach you, and then it comes to as the person, as yourself, in how you can apply when you find yourself even in a job situation.
Okay.
So it is, how you can make use of the knowledge and the skills that you've gained, and how you can apply that.
Right.
So also with research and, with articles coming out, because I'm working in research, I always, you have to, not that I'm discrediting it, but what were they looking at?
Yes.
Specifically,
Yes.
When they come to that conclusion
Right.
that our students are not,
Globally
compatible. Yeah, they can't compete on a global platform. But I do think our students are able to compete on a global platform.
Yeah, because it's always good to hear from the person who's in it.
Yeah.
Because not everything is a boa that they say about South African children or students. It's good to hear that, yes, on a global platform, we can actually compete. And I'm happy to hear that. So now, according to the news the other day, 40,000 young people feel the education system doesn't provide skills needed to get employment. How will we be able to narrow that margin? And I think it comes back to our previous question,
yes.
the first, yeah.
So it is. So I'm not going to talk about, the mismanagement of finances.
Funds, yeah, because we all know that.
We all know that is an issue.
Yeah.
So it's like I said, there's a diverse, vast skills that's needed out there. And because if, like I always say, we can't ignore, our historical past, apartheid.
Yes.
And so the current government, in policy, it's very good. We have this about redress, where we want to give, every child the same or the equal opportunities, which we know it's not possible. But to some degree, to give every child the same level of education. So there is, like with skills, so I would agree that there is a lot of skills shortage, which the school cannot. So it is about if we can get our different sectors to function properly,
Yes.
and effectively,
Yes.
then we would have kids with the necessary skills.
Yeah, and if we
there.
talk about the different sectors,
Yes.
we can bring in even parents in
Yes.
there. If parents can just get more
involved
in their child's
and
performance.
also parents to find out earlier, what it is that your child is interested in. Sometimes you find, I don't like to generalize, but sometimes you find that kids, there isn't really, an idea or a vision for why they go to school. Kids, keep them busy at home and see what they're good at. And you channel them into that direction.
Yeah, awesome.
But that is important. That if you look at other kids that are mechanics, or they're from a young age. If the father was a car mechanic, they would work there, and that's how they develop the love for that skill, or they develop that skill, and then they can go into that. But if you just feel that it's the school or the education system's responsibility, to find out or to figure out for your child, but it is about having conversations with your child from a very young age, to see what it is, what is the plan. Do they just want to get a matric and then go and find a job? But then you have to think about, like, what jobs are there out there for you with just a matric certificate.
Yes, absolutely. And today you can't just have a matric certificate.
You just can't have a matric certificate. And also, how well did you pass that matric certificate? So, like, there's a lot of conversation that needs to, I believe it starts at home. We cannot leave it
to the teachers and to the universities alone to see what is the niche of your child, whereas your child spends more time with you at home, and you can actually channel that child into the right direction. But I think because we were also trained, like the way we were brought up, in our generation, that you have to have a degree. You have to, and sometimes we place that on our children, and it's not really our children's forte. It's not even, they're not even interested in what you are saying they must go study. You know what I'm saying? But it's because of your pride as a parent.
It is,
and many times it's like that.
The status
of the family. It's true, eh?
It is,
and we actually damage the child because now the child sits, and the child don't want to be in that a profession that you're pushing the child into. And many times you find that the child drops out because in the first place, the child didn't want to be there. The child wanted to do something else, something they love. And I think sometimes we have to think again as parents. How do we channel our children?
Definitely.
Are they doing things that they really love? A lot of people are in jobs that they don't like. Am I right?
Definitely.
And they're frustrated in that job because of the money that they must earn on a daily basis to keep the lights on.
And you find at university, which is a major problem also because it's got financial implications.
Yes.
Where kids they'll do a first year course and then they realize that this is actually not for me, which, there is some good to that if you have the option to change. So sometimes they take a gap year. They have those type of programs where, but it comes back to funding.
Now, tell me, talking about that, Gats, do you think it is wise to take a gap year? Because I find that, especially now, I had a student now recently who really wanted to study, and you know her because we spoke to you about her. She took a gap year, and now to get back into the system, it's difficult.
It is difficult. So a gap year, so provided that you passed your matric very well, because it becomes difficult to get space in university, because if, like, I think at UJ we can take about 10,000 first years, and then you get influx of applications for 70,000.
What?
And you can only take 10,000. Yeah.
Show.
I think like at FITS, they also get like about 40,000, and they can maybe just take about 5,000 first years. So it becomes difficult. So there are gap year programs which I know kids take, and those are maybe kids who passed extremely well and they are in the means, but they have a 6-month program where there is different ventures and careers that they can not experiment with, that they participate in. It's a 6-month program, and so they can decide, do I want to go into medicine, do I want to go into commerce, but that is like for people who can afford it. So taking a gap year, you have to make sure that you can compete for a space, because it becomes about competing for a space now at university in terms of your APS scores. So if you just meet the minimum...
So even if your APS scores are...
If it's just the minimum, and if you read a prospectus, so I would encourage kids, that's what I did with my daughter. I introduced her very early, I think from grade 10. I gave her and I said, look, these are the programs, these are the courses that's offered at university, these are the symbols that you must get. but it is clearly stated that meeting the minimum does not guarantee you
Yeah, true.
a space.
Yeah, very
So
true.
it is that you need to, again, it's not everybody that
Yeah,
needs to go to
yeah.
university.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm so happy that you actually mentioned that, because that we don't drill it,
Yes.
you know, and push it down our children's throats that you have to go to university, and if they don't get into university, then we upset with the child. You see what I'm saying? Whereas there are the other institutions, there are other programs that you can actually do to actually also get to your final destination where you want to be as a student.
Yeah.
Am I right?
And the other
So-
thing just with universities also is the kids should look at the industry that they want to go in. So we find many students that study degrees that there's no jobs for it. So then you find graduates without employment. So you have to look at, if you going to study for this degree, can you do something else maybe to go, if you can use it as, an entrance level,
Right.
can you specialize into a different
Right,
route where you
right.
will find, where you can become employable. So there's a lot of homework and research that needs to be done
Okay.
before you just, apply to do a course and something.
Okay. Now, also with that, how do we narrow the margins when we say that is the skills good enough that universities offer or our education system offer? So to narrow the margins is to work together and check the niche of your child
Yes.
from a young age and channel the child into that direction. Am I right?
Yeah.
No?
So because that's why I think it's called basic education. It's to give you a basic education for you to
Yeah,
be
it's just
educated.
basic, yeah.
Yes. There should be other avenues, other sectors where you can further your education, like with, the exit of grade 9, where you go into a vocational or technical, or if you go the academic route. But it is back, to the challenges that we have in education.
I can just hear someone saying out there, wow, grade 9, what are you going to do with the grade 9? But
So it's not to end at grade 9. It is to take your education further.
Yes.
It is to take it
Yes.
further into a different stream than the mainstream of academics.
Right. So okay, I'm so happy to actually hear that we actually, guys, sometimes we just look at the government. You know what I'm saying? We look at the education system. We see the challenges, right? We know there are challenges, but my thing is, this is where we at. What's our way forward?
Yep.
Right? We have to do things that is going to benefit us. Don't just look here. Look ahead. What can we do actually to help our children become better people? Right? So now, do we have equipped teachers? Do you think? I think 50-50. No? It depends.
So the academic in me is going to ask, what do you mean by equipped?
I mean, equipped in the sense that, are you really doing your work as a teacher? Are you there to work? Do we find teachers that is really there for the passion of teaching, or are they just there for the salary at the end of the month?
Okay, so I cannot speak on behalf of, everybody. So I would like to say that teachers, they're there. There are many teachers, so we should not generalize.
Okay.
So I think in every profession you would find, people who's doing good, and there are, people with some challenges or, some different views.
Right.
So I would not like to generalize and say that I think our teachers are doing an extremely good job
Right.
giving, the circumstances that they find themselves in. Like I mentioned earlier, with the number of kids
Right.
that they have to attend to. So, and if you look at a child, it's an individual. It's all different personalities. It's all emotional baggage. It's
Yeah,
all
coming from different
homes. If you look at the society the school is based in, there's gangsterism, there's all
Yeah,
those drugs and
yeah.
stuff, and whether they are equipped. If we look in terms of for me working in the teacher education sphere, there are some challenges in terms of content knowledge, where there is a need for upskilling. So like
Especially when it comes to math and,
Yes.
and science.
Science,
and,
yes.
and those are the subjects actually that we
really
need.
need. Yeah. So we do have challenges in that. I'm not going to say that it's all, because results will show again.
Absolutely.
Our matric results will again show the problems with maths and science. So there is a need, for better qualified teachers who can teach that in the non-paying fee schools. Because in your fee-paying schools, that is where they get
Yeah.
the best
Yeah,
teachers,
yeah.
because they can pay.
Yeah.
So there is a lot
Because
of
they have the funding.
funding. So there's a lot of things that we need to consider. So definitely, majority of our teachers teaching in the government schools, the non-fee paying schools, they need constantly in-service training. But there are those challenges in terms of, you do find teachers that would pay out of their pockets, but because they have a career trajectory that they want to get to, and others are not in the means. So there is also what we've seen from other countries is where they have a clear criteria selection for teachers to enter. So in your countries who's performing well, they select from the top 3% of matriculants, where in our country, teaching is not a very lucrative career because of, what society, how they portray teachers, and also in terms of the salary. So kids would want to go into engineering.
Yeah.
It's more prestigious. It's more lucrative. They want to go into accounting. The kids who's good in maths and science, they want to go into the sciences. But you do get those students who is passionate about teaching, who wants to make a difference. So there are challenges in initial teacher education, that we have a lot of programs. There is a lot of intervention that we need to do to get the students that we get. So remember, they come from an education system. And so with teaching, it's one of those professions where you already learn to teach while you're in a classroom, because you for 13 years you observe teaching. So and then they come for 4 years, and we need to change the mindset. But then they go back maybe to a school that they've been to, and they just adopt that same practices and that same morale at that school.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of challenges
With
towards
regards
that. Yeah.
to that.
But I think in general, teachers they're doing the best to
They
their
can,
abilities.
Yeah, and also the narrative that's going around, especially in our schools, where they say that teachers goes with young girls, and with teachers raping young.
Yeah,
Girls.
there are those cases, but
In the majority.
let's look at the majority. So you will definitely,
Yeah.
I mean, in any profession, there is malpractice.
Absolutely.
There is,
I fully agree with you.
misconduct
Yeah.
happening.
So that's
but
why we don't look at the dot on the
Yes.
on the white sheet. We look at the entire sheet.
Yes.
Because that's but just the dot
yeah.
on it. So ups to the teachers, and it's not an easy job. Oh my Lord. I don't know
it's definitely
sometimes,
not.
because I have 5 grandchildren, and when they're all together, guys, it is a hectic time to have everybody
Body.
at the same time.
Give everybody
I can't
attention.
imagine how a teacher with 60 pupils in a classroom. Lord, I take my hat off for you. Honestly speaking, I really salute you because it takes guts, sir. It takes guts. And therefore, being in this society that we are living in right now, where we are at the moment, COVID-19 came in, 2 years is gone. Children didn't go to school, personally, where there was a teacher standing in front of them, and they had to learn online. And you find that there are children who cannot work on their own. How are we going to actually narrow that margin? How are we going to get our children back, to the mindset of the classroom atmosphere if we have to go back to classroom?
So they are currently back to classroom on a rotational basis.
Okay.
So they have been since last year. So my view is that I wrote some article and I made the statement that COVID just brought insult to injury.
Right.
So it's already an injured education system. We have already a lot of gaps in our learning when it comes to reading, and maths. So it just brought insult to injury. So there are some, scholars who say that we will never be able, to fill the gaps, to remedy, the damage that's been made. But I think what COVID also taught us in education that there is a greater need for parental involvement, and COVID showed that parents are not capable of doing that.
Wow, sorry. We just see that there's
a lot of comments.
Simple, it's a spam thingy on our. But nevertheless, sorry to interrupt, guys. But I was wondering what is going on here. Some irritation. Some people who don't have work to do. But yeah, that's it. Okay. You can carry on with
yes. So I know that schools, teachers are really, going out of their way to fill the gap and to have some sort of remedy. There are some very dedicated teachers who, on their own time, especially when it comes to maths, who teach on a Saturday, where they just try to, especially, the kids who are really struggling. So there are a lot of, interventions that is put in place just to intervene and to fill those gaps. So whether, we will, I think in a few years' time we will actually see, the full extent of
COVID.
the COVID on the education system.
Because it's very sad, if you look at the children, because let's face it, not all the children can work on their own.
And it plays with, work ethic. So if you're on a rotational basis, 1 week
the discipline.
or maybe one day or you're on, the next day you're off, or the 1 week you're on. So it plays with your discipline and your work ethic and also your concentration span. So there is, and I know that from the department side, they have streamlined the curriculum, focusing on, just the core skills and concepts that's needed for kids. So that is, ways, there are various ways that they are looking at so that the damage is not that severe in terms of teaching and learning taking place.
Yeah. I can just imagine how a lot of children is falling behind, with the education, because let's just face it, especially if they're not sharp and they need someone to actually take them through. Maybe a math problem or something, and they need someone to guide them through. To explain them.
And you have other kids that's auditory.
Yes.
They need to hear.
Yes,
So you
yes.
can get kids that can read. You get
Yeah.
people that they read. They understand, but they do not fully comprehend until somebody explains
Yeah.
to them. So that is
That takes another discipline, eh? That
Yeah.
takes another skill
yes.
from the parent again. And therefore, I sometimes feel sorry for the parents too.
No.
Because parents are so busy.
Yeah.
You know, there's, as I explained to you earlier, there's single parents, maybe with 2 children, you know, and they're struggling just to make ends meet. And now all of a sudden the children must be at home. They don't have a helper to look after the children. Mom must be at work. It's really, it's sad. It's sad what COVID-19 came to do. In our society, you know, ripping everything apart, you know, trying to put that, I don't know, what can I call it? Something that is on the minds of our people, man.
Yeah.
It's like a blackness that's just bombarding the minds of people.
Yeah.
And I don't sometimes know. Some people are still in it, guys, now in 2022. They're still in the beginning of 2019. When did this thing happen? 2019,
yeah.
right? Was it March, no?
Yeah.
You find people still living there. They just can't open up because of that fear, that heaviness that is placed upon them due to COVID-19. And I find that because if parents are there, what about our children? What about the pupils?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Pupils that's energetic, pupils that wants to learn, wants to get out there. And now all of a sudden, they can't. They can't be with... They want to get out of the house because there's a lot of things happening in the house. So it really brought a lot of things, eh?
It's
with
very
it.
difficult.
It's difficult.
Difficult because, like, if you go to school, you go to a different environment. So
You have friends
you
there.
have friends. So if I always think about, people living in informal settlements, it's so small and all that, and you have to learn in that space. There's not even a proper
No
table for you,
lights.
no lights for you to sit. And also, if you go to school, you engage, you interact with other. It takes your mind off
Absolutely.
your
Environment.
circumstances at home. So it just alleviates and take you to a different space, and you can just
Right.
come back and then you have to face that again.
Woo! Okay, there's a few things that we cannot discuss right now that I really wanted to discuss, but yeah, I can't, not on this platform, but we will talk about it some other time when we have to. But yes, beloveds, there's a great despondency amongst the youth due to these regrets from university. People who enroll or apply to go to university, they have the passion, they have everything, because I know I have a student at the moment. I even phoned people in the Northwest just to try and help this girl, because she took a gap year, but is actually very passionate to go into teaching because she sees the need. She didn't have, all the advantages. So now she wants to give back to a community. But sad to say, she applied, everything is on par. You know what I'm saying? But she received a letter that, unfortunately, because they said that the enrollment is full.
Yeah.
So how can we encourage children like her to actually not give up? What do you say to someone like that?
So I'm not sure what was the purpose. So like I said, kids should really educate themselves from early on, like in the grades, grade 10 or grade 11, in terms of the APS, because it's really like, you
But the
competing.
APS scores are good. It's good. It's just that there's no space. They said there's no space.
I don't know. I think she applied at UNISA.
Yeah,
Yeah,
UNISA.
yeah.
Yeah, UNISA.
So I'm not, sure how they work, but so if they, most of the time, they look at the highest APS and then they come down. So they fill up spaces with the highest APS.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, what APS is. I would advise people to try to improve on, certain subjects so that it can just give them a better opportunity, because the higher your APS scores, you become in demand. You can apply at different universities, and they will. Then you can decide. You can pick and choose. Do I want to go to this institution or do I want to go to that? It is. Kids should also just not apply to one institution. They should apply to various. I think it does become difficult because for this year, I would think that universities should give preference to the class of 2021.
So I thought, yeah.
Yeah. So
Because they were really disadvantaged in that.
Yes. And also they finish school, so they have to start their first year here. So if you're going to take a gap year, then it should be to improve, your qualifications to give you a better chance of entrance.
And isn't there ways that you can get, if you can just put your foot in, and maybe do something in line with what you want to study, like in a diploma or something like that? Do you think that will also?
Yes, but I do know that there are some other schools, some NGOs where they take disadvantaged students as interns, where they can do online, like they used to use UNISA, but like with us now, there are schools that take interns. So students, they have a certain criteria of how they select. I don't know. So if you can, for her that's interested, if a school can maybe take her as an intern and then try to assist her to,
you know what, I also heard that due to the fact that there's so many children who was not accepted at UNISA, apparently they also decreased their intake percentage. The children who applied, before they used to take, I think it was 80, and now it has to decrease to a lower amount of students that they can actually take into the different faculties.
Yeah.
So that also to me doesn't make sense when it comes to the education system, because looking at the backlog, with the 2 years of COVID, and now the children who passed now, right? So they have to wait for the grade 12s of this year. So last year's children, 19, 20, we're in 22 and 21. That's, to me, it's a backlog. It's like, who knows? What do you do? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I think if you applied, so let's say you matriculated last year and you applied, and you do not get in now. So the chances for you to get in next year is going to be even slimmer, not unless. So the reason why they say it is a space. So it is about, that where they look at the highest APS. So they go from the top. I think it's, if you...
What must your APS be? If we can just put it out there again.
No, so if you just pass with a bachelor's pass, like they say.
Okay.
So
because there's a lot on Facebook.
Yeah, so it means absolutely nothing. So the minimum you could have is, and others say they pass with a bachelor's degree. Yeah, and it's not. It's just a bachelor's pass. It means you have entrance to university. But so the lowest you can have is 23. So, if you just meet the criteria, it's 23 APS. So if you get A sample, you get 7 points. If you get a B, it's 6 points. So you just up until a D, you get scores for that. So you can get to 23. So if you look at, so there are diploma courses that you can enter with 23. But most, depending on where you want to look at. So if you want to do education, the lowest, the minimum that you must get is 26. But over and above that, there's additional requirements. You must have a 60% for English. And if you did Maths Lit, you must have 60% and above. So it's not just meeting the APS scores. If one of those criteria is not met, the system is not, you are not going to be accepted. So that is, so, but that 26, and even if you meet 26 and you meet those other two requirements, still does not guarantee you a space, because every program, we want the best students.
Right.
So if our space is full, when we looked from the top, if it's full, it's full. You could, if we cut off by 32, which is high, where do you stand with a 26 or 28?
Yeah, or 23.
Yeah. So your bachelor's, then you have to look at, there are diploma courses at university that you can look at. There's also, especially in those type of courses, there might be space, and then they would have a late application after. So is. Okay. So kids should just look on the system at the institution that they want to. There are late applications, and then they can, apply for those programs that there are still space.
Right.
Might not be what they want to do, but I also would not, I don't know, recommend kids just to study something
that
just
they
for
don't
the sake
want to,
of
just
studying.
it's a fact, because it's a waste of
It's
time.
a waste of time and money.
Yeah, and also, so beloveds, we came to the end of the program, and yes, I would like, if there's parents out there and your child is in grade 11 at this stage, or can we say, you said earlier, grade 10?
Because they select subjects in grade 9 for grade 10.
Okay.
And kids change their subjects, but it is to know, where are you heading to?
Right.
It's to know that early, and even you should have 2 or 3 options, that you're really passionate about, and then look at what is required from university, and just make sure that you pass very well so that you can compete, because you are competing. The reality is you are competing for a space now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yes, I hope this was very informative to all our parents and our students. And we want to say all the best for 2022. Do your best. Go out of your way. Nothing's going to come easy. Nothing's going to come on a silver platter. You have to work and sacrifice your way through. There are times that you're going to have to put the friends one side and concentrate on what you want to become in your personal life for your future. You are working toward your future. If you are at school right now, don't take it for granted. I was laughing the other day when I asked Scarlett is in grade R, and I asked Scarlett, what did you learn today? And she said, today I've learned that there's no toys in big school. So if you are in big school, if you are in varsity, there's no toys. So come on, guys, know where you're at and take it further. Do the best you can. Last comment from you, Kat?
Just to parents, we in communities, there are a lot of people. If you're not certain, ask. Nobody would, turn your way for advice. If there isn't really career counseling at school, get somebody that can talk to your child, or your child can talk to guide. So just ask. You need to prepare way in advance. You can't wait for the last minute, unfortunately.
Yes, yes, yes. So that is from Dr. Kathy on the set. We want to thank you for coming in once again. Thank you so much. Always with education. The team knows who's going to be on the system. The other girlfriend couldn't be with us today. But yeah, she always steps in because it is close to our hearts for our children to make a success of their lives. So yeah, from us to you, have a beautiful, wonderful Thursday. And don't forget, tomorrow on the Inside Show is with the Ankh. So come on, beloveds, let's work together to make our society a better society. We love you. Take care. God bless. Mwah.
In the shade, as I look upon my life, in the shade, there's a passion inside. Heaven knows I'm living my dreams. As I look upon my life.